Alright, good evening. So, right now we're going to go find out how to use a Beckman J20 XPI centrifuge with JA25.50 rotor. But, you know, it's generalizable. So, we store our rotors like this, so you want to go and grab your rotor, and usually the blue cap rotors are the ones which we can use in the centrifuges, because we have Sorvals and Ultras, so you want to make sure that the rotors fit. And so there's a lid, there's a rotor. And so the first thing you want to do is on the back of the rotor, the way it goes in, I don't know if you can see or not, but there are little pegs inside of there. And so when you open the centrifuge, to open the centrifuge, just use this pedal over here. So you press the pedal, goes up. You can see over here, there are two little pegs here. So this is a spindle, this is what spins the rotor, and there those. So the idea is, the pegs on the rotor are supposed to go between the pegs on the spindle. And so I'm going to put it down like this. And we have a flashlight, just for the purposes of inspecting that. And so you go here, and you basically just look, and I'm not sure if this is going to show up or not, but the idea is that you'll be very clear when the pegs go between the pegs or the pegs sit on top of the pegs. And if the pegs sit on top of the pegs, it's not good, because that's how you strip the pegs, and then you have to change the spindle. Okay, so we're good here in terms of that. Another thing you want to inspect is you want to make sure that all the holes for the tubes are dry, and a bunch of them are not here, which is bad. You want to look for corrosion, so if there's signs of excessive corrosion, the rotor might not be good to spin and might not be safe to spin. And yeah, so you do that, and so because it's not good, you're going to grab a paper towel, and we're just going to go into the holes and basically dry it a little bit. Like that. Because, you know, if you have liquid in there, that's it will misbalance the rotor, which is a terrible thing to do. I know, this is very exciting for everyone to see, but, you know, something that has to be done. Well, this is much better. Anyhow, so the next thing to do, just quickly do this again. Let me show. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to inspect the O-ring. So these centrifuges, when they run, they actually pull vacuum. And so if the O-rings are not either there or are, you know, ripped or whatnot, then the stuff will leak. And the same for the centrifuge tubes, they have to have O-rings in them, because your sample will basically get sucked out. And that is not a good situation. I assume you want to keep your sample in one form or another. Anyhow, so that should be good. Okay, so now you're going to take your paper towel, and you're going to take your tubes which have been balanced. By balanced, I mean the tubes are basically the same weight. And so, and by the same weight, I mean they are within less than 1/10 of a gram identical in weight. And then we're going to put them, and so you want to use a special Beckman centrifuge tubes for a particular rotor, so that's something you have to look up. And so you put them opposing each other. You want to wipe them so that, you know, whatever liquid from the ice bucket doesn't go, and so you can see how they're opposed. And now this is the O-rings I talked about. So as you can see, there's the outer O-ring and there's the inner O-ring, and these are periodically supposed to be lubricated by this sort of vacuum grease. And then also the threads on this thing should be lubricated by the spin coat lubricant from time to time. I just lubricated this recently, and so you can see even on the rotor, and if you can see, there's some grease left. So I'm not going to lubricate it right now, but it's something you want to make sure. And the way you know you need to lubricate the spindle is when it starts making a screeching sound when you screw it in. That's not good. You just put it in the lid, and you just tighten it like that. And make sure it's plenty tight. And I usually, because I'm paranoid, I give it a little tug to make sure it's all good, so our rotor is secure. And so then you just close the lid. Okay, now we need to set up the program. And so the rotor we're using is JA25.50. So we want to press this rotor button, GA, and then more 25.50, and press enter. We're going to spin at speed of 30,000 G and press enter, and time is 30 minutes, 30, and press enter. So double check all our parameters. Correct rotor, 30,000 G. You want to make sure, don't confuse G's with RPM. You can change it over here. So we have 30,000 G, 30 minutes, and then the rotor is nice and tight, and we just press to start. You press enter and start. And you want to always stay next to the centrifuge while it's spooling up, so that if it blows up or anything like that, you're right next to it to witness it. And so while it's doing that, we can sign up. You always want to sign up for these things. What time is it? Nice. 10:40. 10. Alright. And so we can see the RPM go up. There's no misbalance, so the centrifuge is not vibrating or anything like that, so it means it's pretty good. And once it gets to our 30,000 Gs, we're done. And so when it will stop in half an hour, everything is reversed. You take the lid off, you take the tubes out, you make sure that nothing leaked, none of your tubes leak, because sometimes the tubes are old and crack and they leak. And then you put the rotor upside down back into the fridge, so that if there's been any moisture, it leaks out and the rotor does not get corroded, because those things are very, very, very expensive. Alright, and good luck.